Let's talk about the Utah Jazz. Is it a new beginning? No. Is it a team that's going to annoy us? Yes. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I have to reveal that I will be a guest star on the next season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code of Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms, so give us a double bang, hit the thumb, and we're ready to go. Yeah, we're talking Jazz. Don't be fooled by the rocks that they've got. Don't be fooled by the comments that they made. We won't be manipulating minutes. Cool. Maybe they're still going to be deliberately tanking. They're going to be fake injuring players, and they've already traded away guys. So we're going to try and get to the bottom of how to make sense of this roster. Let's do it now. All right, of course, to talk about the Utah Jazz, I am joined by the host of the Locked On Jazz podcast, but most importantly, the man that is my boss. It is, of course, David Locke. Welcome back to the show, David.
Great to see you. You are the kingpin of this network, so I think you might be my boss. You know, it depends. Here's the question: is LeBron James JJ Redick's boss, or is JJ Redick LeBron's boss, or are the new Laker owners? I guess what they've made their statement. They've made it clear they are LeBron's boss.
Yeah, so
this summer.
are you comparing me
are
to
they Luka's,
LeBron?
Are they Luka's boss?
You're comparing me to LeBron now, so you didn't turf me out after a year. I'm done.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
You know, here's a crazy one. Here might be the most interesting moment for the Jazz. Our final game is in Los Angeles against the Lakers. We play the last night of the year in LA against the Lakers. We also called Kobe's last game.
Yeah, I know, the Kobe 60 game.
Yeah, so I have I have a picture of Kobe right behind me in Kobe's last game. You can't see it in your form, but so will I be calling LeBron's last game? Do the Lakers make the playoffs? And then also, is that LeBron? If not, is that LeBron's last regular season game, or is that just LeBron's last game?
I didn't know that was going to be the case in terms of for you. That's a big deal. We'll see. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think we might be clear on that. But hey, you know, stuff happens. I just finished doing a Sixers preview, and who could have foreseen all the nonsense that happened with them last season? But we want to talk about nonsense, David. We're going to talk about this Jazz team. Now, I know that you are the radio.
By the way, Josh, I want to point out I might have started with the lead of the most exciting item of our whole season for anyone that's not a Utah Jazz fan, because the final game of the year in LA may be the most exciting game of the year.
Yeah, because we heard, we know they made some changes in the front office, and we heard Austin Age come out, and there was comments of people, oh my God, the Jazz, they're going for it. He said they're not manipulating minutes. I think we just need to read into or listen a little bit more carefully to what he said, because as soon as he said that, of course, see you later, John Collins. See you later, Colin Sexton. We're just going to get into trades, and we're going to just make our team worse. So I guess my question is, John Collins was one of the veterans on that team that was sort of not blocking, but he was in spots where the other young players were. Colin Sexton was getting minutes at the guard spot where other young players were. So I guess the next question is there more to come? And does that mean that Lauri Markkanen is on the chopping block? Does that mean that Walker Kessler is getting moved? Like, what are we doing with these sort of remaining? I'm not talking about the Kyle Andersons and these sort of players, but these guys who are in these key roles, and it's probably more focused on Markkanen. Like, what is the plan here with that? Do you foresee anything more happening with Utah?
Yeah, I think Walker Kessler, you've got to include in the core young players. He came over in the Rudy Gobert trade. I think he's part of the build. I think Lauri is too. I've said this locally that I think Lauri will be on the Jazz roster the next time the Jazz play a playoff game.
Okay.
I do not think he'll be traded. And here's some reasons why. The first thing is he's making a lot of money. And the way the salary cap has changed, I'm not sure that Lauri can be your third biggest contract anymore. The way the league kind of went this last year is those teams, Philadelphia you just mentioned, and Denver and some others, who were paying $100 million for their top 2 players and 140 or so for their top 3 players, didn't advance in the playoffs. They didn't have enough depth. And Lauri's making 46 this year and next year. Then he goes to 49, and then he goes to 53. I think that number gets very difficult for someone to acquire. So that's the first thing. The second thing is for the Jazz, if they're going to make the playoffs here in the near future, or near future being 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to be because Ace Bailey hits or whoever they draft this year hits. And then that player will still be on rookie cost control. So the route by which the Jazz become a playoff team again is that Ace Bailey hits, they get AJ in the draft, and he hits. They've got these 2 young players coming up. You have the veteran Lauri. You've got $45 million of cap space or more. You bring in another player, and now those are your 4 best players. Lauri might be your second highest paid, but for you to be really good, Lauri's probably your 3rd best player, and maybe whoever you just signed is your best player. Ace Bailey's your second best, and Lauri's your 3rd best, and then you've got the other young kid if you hit again in the draft in the top part of the draft next year, and that's where you become good again. So what is an impediment to other teams, which is Lauri making 46, 49, and 50, will not be an impediment for the Jazz if this rebuild goes right. And you just can't clear the entire deck, right? Like, you got to have some talent. You got to be able to play a little bit. And more importantly than that, let's say Ace Bailey really hits. I'm sure we'll talk about him, but let's say he really matures and hits. And let's say they draft, we'll go with AJ again next year, and he hits. Well, if that's all you have, you're not actually close.
Yep, you're right.
But if you have Lauri Markkanen and those 2 guys hit, and you have $50 million of cap space, well, now you're actually not that far away.
The other thing with Lauri is that you keep him there, and he's good. He's a really good player, but him alone doesn't take you out of lottery range. He doesn't elevate this whole team to win 45 games. Like, he's good. Like, he's a good player, but he can't do that stuff alone. I guess some of the worry, if we're going to just move to Lauri as a player, is that, like, last season, yes, we know that there was manipulation with games played and injuries, but he also just didn't play that well. Like, he was just playing, he just wasn't good for periods of last season. His shooting numbers dipped under 35% from 3. His rim protection, which is never a great thing, like, it just disappeared. It fell off the face of the earth. A lot of the stuff that he did wasn't at the same level. Do you think that was... apathy is a harsh word, but like I guess a malaise around the team just with how things were and what their goals were? Is there a reason for concern about those some of those indicators from Markkanen last season?
Okay, so here would be the areas where I'd say there is no concern, which is I just think if I remember correctly, he got banged up early.
He did.
The season just didn't start right, and it never got going. So that would be the area where no concern. Area 2, where I'm like, I don't know, particularly if you're a fantasy player, how you look at concern on this. The Jazz decide they're going to play John Collins at the 4, Walker at the 5, so Lauri was really not in his positions to be useful. I think he'll be used differently this year. But they also decided, like, okay, Lauri, you're not very good at isolation. You're not very good at self-creation. So we're going to actually make you do those things to see if you can get better at them. And I'm not sure he did. So I don't know if we're going to do that again. Last year literally was like, Lauri, we know that you're not particularly great if we just isolate you on the mid-block, but you actually need to learn this to become a marquee player. So here's the ball on the mid-block with 7 on the shot clock, and what are you going to do? Well, that makes it really hard for you to be successful. And I don't think we'll be doing as much as that. So those 2 areas I'd say no concern. Here's the one area I would say concern. Go look at his Jazz numbers with Mike Conley and without Mike Conley.
Yeah, Mike
really
Conley has that impact on a lot of people, doesn't he?
Right. It's a really big transformation from the day they traded Mike Conley. Now, it's also the day they stopped trying to win games as much. But Lauri Markkanen is not a self-creator. In fact, Lauri Markkanen is a 7'1" Klay Thompson. That's really what he is if you kind of look at him as a player. And you look at his number of field goals that are assisted and things of that nature. He really is a 7'1" Klay Thompson, and he's as good a shooter as Klay Thompson is at times, which is incredible. But if you don't have a point guard, that makes it hard. And if you don't have anybody else on the floor that's getting gravity, that makes it hard. So I do think there's a chance that because of the circumstances and the lack of a point guard, that some of Lauri's numbers for last year and the year prior are legitimately good to project him, not his numbers from his all-star season with Utah.
The unassisted thing was the part I was going to start to bring up, because you can look at like his, from even this last year to the year prior, whereas his mid-range shots, he was at 77%, assisted last season, 58. So what you were saying is they said, you go down there and you try and do it yourself, and let's see where it goes. And obviously, it didn't go very well. Like, he didn't put up good numbers, and his mid-range shooting percentage dropped 5 percentage points because he was doing a lot of it himself, and it wasn't successful. So if they can get back to a situation where it's a little bit different, then maybe we're getting something extra from Lauri Markkanen. I want to talk about some of the other forwards on this team, David. We'll get to that in a sec, because I do got to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You might decide at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family. It's game day. You sit in there and you go, man, I want to be there. I want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab those last minute tickets without the stress. With the money that you save on tickets, you can splurge on food or drinks, or even just bring extra people along with you. And Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. The prices on the app actually drop the closer that you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, the lowest price guarantee as well. And, of course, if you're in Utah, you can't get to a Major League game, but maybe you go see the Salt Lake Bees. I'm sure they've got tickets for that over on the Game Time app. But whatever it is, whether it's the NBA, you got the Utah Mammoth there as well, Game Time is going to have all of those tickets available. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. For $20 off your first purchase, terms apply. Again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Okay. So, last season, David, we entered the season. You talked about John Collins. He was a bench player to begin the season, right? And he was in that role behind the starters they had because they did go young. Because at power forward, it was Taylor Hendricks who was the starting power forward. Now, given what John Collins and what he did, and Walker Kessler's presence, and Kyle Filipowski, I feel like people have sort of forgotten about Taylor Hendricks because we just didn't see him play. He had that broken leg, which is one of the weirdest broken leg injuries I've probably ever seen, just sort of standing still, walking, and then his leg just broke. I don't know what happened. Where are we at with him? How are the Jazz viewing him? Do you think that he's got a chance to just step back in and be that starter, pushing Lauri again down to 3? Look, where's he at in the franchise?
So they've been very diligent about his rehab. He did not play Summer League. I think he's close to all go right now, and I would suspect that he hits training camp with limited restrictions and just, did not play much last year. The problem with that, for him not playing very much last year, is he's a limited basketball experience guy. He's played his whole life, but you can just watch him play, and he's one who's still learning the game in a lot of ways. He's always been the best athlete on the floor, and so those lost minutes last year are really impactful to his development. The other one I would just say on any of these players who have these kind of, I don't know if the word catastrophic is right, but these massive injuries, it often takes them my research has shown me, whether it's an Achilles or an ACL or something like this, it actually takes till a break in play. So I wouldn't really evaluate Taylor Hendricks as a player until after the All-Star break. Yep. In other words, I think between the now and the All-Star break is going to be about getting comfortable, realizing what your body can do. You get to the All-Star, it sounds really weird, but psychologically, you get to the All-Star break and you're like, oh, wait, I'm fine. Oh, I can go play. I'm okay. I got here. And I think that'll matter. Taylor's interesting. The first thing you'll notice about Taylor when you see him on the floor, Josh, is his size. It'll blow you away. You will literally lead one of your shows with it, I promise you. Somewhere in the preseason, when you do your top observations of preseason, your first thing you're going to talk about is Taylor's size. I was with him yesterday. He is so big. Like, he took advantage of the year off and is so big. I actually kind of believe in the redshirt year for young players. So for that reason, and I think there's really something to it that you don't have to worry about playing. You can just get bigger and stronger and all that. And he's done that. So we'll see. I'm going to be totally honest. I have no idea.
Yeah. The front court is weird. Like, there's Kessler, there's Markkanen, there's Hendricks.
Yeah, I think the front court, this is why you traded John Collins, because with Taylor Hendricks and Ace Bailey and Kyle Filipowski and Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen, I think Lauri starts the year at the 3. Mm-hmm. I think probably Taylor or Ace starts at the 4 and Walker starts at the 5. And I think, if we're being totally honest, I think most of us think that Kyle Filipowski's a 4, not a 5. Yeah. And I just don't think he can defend the 5 well enough. So it'll be interesting. I actually think Yusuf Nurkic is going to play a little bit. And then Ace Bailey slides between the 3 and the 4, which is probably exactly where he should project. And, the other one, though, is, you just kind of piece this together for a team that is not loaded with, I don't know how to say that. Like, they're all talented players, but there's a lot of versatility here, right? You could roll out a lineup of Lauri Markkanen, Ace Bailey, and Taylor Hendricks, and have Lauri Markkanen play your 5. You're not small, right? You're 7'1", 6'10", and 6'9". Like, you're not small.
Hendricks is a really, really strong rim protector. Like, he only played 3 games, but he blocked 2 shots, I think, in 2 of those games. His defensive numbers are strong. Like, the shooting numbers are terrible because he didn't hit a single field goal in his he didn't play 3 games, but in 2 of them he didn't hit a single field goal. But he's got the ability to play at the center position. He can protect the rim. There's a lot to like about what Hendricks can do, and the numbers from last season don't obviously reflect it because we didn't see anything. Like, it's so small. Let's talk about Ace Bailey because
I'll tell you, as a fantasy thing, like, if you want to take a flyer, I think there's a day, and I don't know if it's this year or the second half of this year. Like, I think Taylor could become a 14.7 rebound guy, and here's how I do that. Okay,
you're preaching to the choir here, because this is when I had this discussion with Leaf last season on this preview. I was all in on Taylor Hendricks because he hits threes, he blocks shots, he can score, he can rebound. And I thought he's going to start. Let's go. I want to see this happen. So
he takes 5 or 6 threes a game. Mm-hmm. He makes 2 of them. Okay. There's 6 points. Yep. He can run like the Dickens. He goes and gets 2-3 field goals on fast break, 2 field goals on a fast breaks during game. We're now at 10 points. He gets an offensive rebound put back. We're at 12, and he actually creates his own. He gets 2 free throws. He's at 14. Like, it's actually not hard to do if he can play, and then rebounding. I think he'll get his rebound. So I actually think he'll have. I could see him. I'm not saying he's going to average 14 and 7, but I could see him average 14 and 7 for the second half of the season.
He is, like, you won't find many people who are higher on him than I was. I think I had him number 4 in that draft class overall. Just as that 3-point shooting, interchangeable 4-5 shot blocking guy who's got an ability to maybe create some offense is, if it hits, it's really valuable. It doesn't always hit, but if it hits, it's really valuable. Now, let's talk about Ace Bailey, though, because we don't have to worry about all the stuff of, like, does he want to go to Utah and whatever. He's there. Who cares? The concerns about him as a player were the lack of passing, the lack of vision, the shot selection stuff. I wouldn't say that what I saw at Summer League necessarily disavowed me of some of those concerns. How do you look at his role, though, this season on the Jazz? You mentioned him playing the 3 or the 4. That's what I think, because I've heard people say, well, they'll play him at the 2. I don't think that's something that's going to happen very much at all. What is going to be the way he is used? Because he's always worked as a high usage guy, but when you are playing with, if it's Keyonte George or you're playing with Lauri Markkanen, like, he's not going to be tasked with being the number 1 option, I'm guessing, most of the time. So how do you envisage he's used in his first season?
So on the criticisms, I watched a ton of Ace Bailey and watched more since we drafted him. So I think they're all legitimate criticisms. Like, people aren't making them up. Mm-hmm. But I don't actually really understand. Like, should have you been passing to Joey from Staten Island? Like, seriously, did you look at the rest of that record?
No, it's true.
Freaking terrible.
No, it was bad.
Right? So, like, you're really supposed to be, like, really, like, Joey's open in the right corner, and you, like, okay. So he was a ball hog.
Yep.
You're right. And he averaged 35 points a game in high school. And then he came to college and played with a bunch of guys that weren't very good, and he was a ball hog. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. I actually have seen this 1,000 times. So I'm not sure why he's being criticized for that. Was his shot selection bad? Yep, it sure was. Could he get every single one of those shots off? Yep. And most of the players in this draft can't even get those shots off. Those are things. I just think there was something about Ace Bailey in a draft where there was no criticism to be had on Cooper Flagg, and there wasn't a lot to complain about Dylan Harper, that somebody had to take the brunt of it. It was Ace Bailey, and then, boy, his management group made it get even louder, right?
Yeah.
So do I think Ace Bailey's going to shoot 38.5% this year? Yes, I do. If I was a fantasy player, would I stay away from him because he's going to shoot 38.5%? Yes, I would. Do I think there's a chance that Ace Bailey is Tracy McGrady? Yes, I do. Like, the flashes are unbelievable. Some of the plays he made in the limited summer league he played was incredible. In fact, the play that to me sticks in my mind and probably has me most excited as a Jazz announcer is I was calling the game with Ron Boone, and I literally said as we started the call, because you're not really calling summer league plays, I said, wow, this has got to be interesting for Ace Bailey. He's run up and down the floor 3 times without touching the ball, and he's just running to the corner, which is what he was supposed to be doing. And we had the ball on the left side of the floor, and the shot went up, and Ace Bailey crashed from the right corner across the lane, grabbed the rebound on the left side with his body going left, put down one dribble to recollect himself, turned back from 7 feet out, big stride, and packed it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I remember the play.
Okay. To me, the first thing was he didn't go to the corner and sulk.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
That was actually, for me, like summer league. I'm on national television. I haven't touched the ball in 3 straight possessions. There's a lot of kids I've seen go to the summer. 2, he crashed out of the corner, so he's actually trying.
Yep.
He could have easily just run back. And then the athleticism's stupid.
Yep.
Like getting the rebound, stopping your body, turning around, and dunking it, that's just stupid. And there aren't many guys who have that. The other play in summer league, and this was the one Ron Boone, who's, for those who don't know who Ron Boone is, they're all-time leading scorer in the ABA. He's 76 years old. He's been around incredibly, was on the Lakers until they drafted some guy named Magic, and then they decided that they should trade him the way to open up playing time, and he ended up in Utah, and he's never left. And he's an incredible man because he's 70, maybe 78 years old, and he's crazily curious and interested and always trying to learn more about the game. Ace Bailey got the ball on the right wing. He took 2 dribbles and elevated it 12 feet. I know the mid-range jumper is not everyone's favorite thing, and he buried it. And Ron literally says on the air, oh my, he could do that every time. And that's a guy who scored in the league who just saw, oh, that's how you score. Is you take 2 dribbles and you elevate over everybody at 6'9" and take a shot. This kid could be just fabulous. We'll see. He's got to mature. He's got to grow up. He's 18 years old. He's going to have days where he gets benched because he takes 5 straight shots. He's going to shoot 38.5%, but Durant shot like 39%. So I could really care less what he shoots this year.
Yeah, he's going to be bad this season. But rookies are like they're bad in general. There's going to be some bad shooting numbers, but it is about flashes. It's about trying to hit on some of the upside stuff. We're talked a lot basically here, David, about big men, forwards, how the front court shakes out. I want to come back and talk about the little guys, the backcourt, the guards, because it's a little confusing, I think, at times here with some of these guys in the backcourt, because we saw, I think we did this show 2 years ago after Summer League where Keyonte George had really popped, and he didn't really play as a point guard at Baylor, and he had some shot selection issues there, and you're like, this guy is absolutely killing it in his the practices I'm seeing. The Jazz put the ball in his hands pretty early on in his rookie season, and then it didn't really go that well last season. He had injuries, ankle problems through the years, but then we saw Isaiah Collier take over that position, and George sort of moved into more of an off-ball role. How do you see those two working? They drafted Walter Clayton this season as well. What is Keyonte George's sort of positioning now? Is he working more to just be that scoring 2 that Colin Sexton's now gone?
So it's interesting. I think if someone's listening to this podcast, they're probably like, wow, this guy's really optimistic on a team that's going to win like 19 games. So your little graphic says, is Keyonte George now an off-ball guard? And my answer to that is I sure hope so.
Yep.
However, there's a chance that neither of the point guards can play. Or are right? Like Isaiah Collier was really good last year, but he shot 25% from 3. And Will Hardy had a great line last year. We'll talk about Keyonte. I'll get to Keyonte. But Will Hardy had a great line last year about like, hey, it's all good and fine unless your offense is so bad that the rest of the team can't run offense, or your defense is so bad the rest of the team can't run defense. Well, if Collier is a point guard and shoots 20% from 3 and they're going under on picks at 15 feet, like it's going to be hard for him to play. And Walter Clayton was really good at times in Summer League, but there's a chance he's a rookie. I know he's 22 and he's a rookie. There's just a chance he's not going to be able to play. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, I think there's a chance Keontae's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. But I sure hope Keontae's the off guard. And I'm still bullish on Keyonte. He needs to mature. He has shown great signs of that this offseason. His work ethic has been amazing. He's been in Utah almost the entire time. He's really been dedicated. I've seen a bunch of the coaches, and they keep talking about it. And I think he gets it. Like, he's either going to be an NBA starter or he's going to be Bones Highland, and we're going to know at the end of the year. And the difference of that's like $80 million, so it's not that big a deal.
Nah.
Right? I mean, he gets it. He understands that he's literally playing probably for the equivalent of $80 million. If he establishes himself as an NBA starter or sixth man, he'll go on to make 140. And if he's Bones Highland, he'll be playing for the Rapid City Flyers here pretty soon. It's a huge year for Keyonte.
He only started half the games last season, like 35 as a starter, 32 coming off the bench. His numbers are actually pretty similar. And I think, again, like he did play off ball because we saw a lot of Isaiah Collier with the ball in his hands, but he still averaged like 5 assists a game, and he was still putting out, like, the passing is not great, but he still did some of that as that combo guard. But it was a change where I thought coming into the season.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Oh,
you have
ahead.
the numbers in front of you, I can tell.
Yep.
Look at a few of those numbers. Free throw jumps. The amount of free throw attempt jump from last year in that year.
Yep.
That's a sign that things are getting better, right? Like, he
100%.
has all the indicators of a player. He actually made his off the bounce 3-point shooting was actually pretty good last year in compare. His rookie was better than last year, but those numbers are actually pretty good, particularly for a young player to take 4 or 5 or 6 off the bounce threes a game and be able to hit a little over 30% of them. Like, all the indicators on Keyonte are it's there, it's in there, and he really could be pretty good. He hasn't been yet. The ball has not gone in the basket yet in his career.
No.
Like, it's got to go in the basket at some point. But all the indicators are there of someone who can be that player.
You bring up, like, that's a really good thing to look at, because you look at some players and look at what percentage of their 3-pointers are assisted. Are they just doing it off pick and rolls and catch and shoots, right? He was 65% of his threes were assisted, so meaning 35% of them were self-created, which it's a pretty big number. Like, that's a pretty sizable number. In fact, he's in the 9th percentile for percentage of 3-pointers that were assisted. So yeah, he is doing a lot of that. They're a lot harder for those shots to go in. Therefore, your percentage is going to be lower. So if you do get someone who's able to work a little bit more to set him up in a better way, you'll see the numbers rise. But taking those shots is an important part of an offense, even if they don't go in at 40%. If you're able to generate the shots and they go in at still a decent enough rate, like, there is an importance in doing that. And that does bring us to Collier, because he was a guy that had some real fantasy appeal last season because he was putting up big assist numbers, but there was a significant sort of plateau in his game, and it didn't feel like Will Hardy was going to go push him to 32 or 33 minutes. He sort of sit at that 28 mark. He was strong. Like, I liked his assist numbers, his ability to get to the rim, but the shooting was always off it. And you mentioned it, like, if you have such a detriment in one area of your game, it impacts everybody else around you. So while it was impressive for Isaiah Collier last season as a very late first-round pick, the concerns with him was the shooting, and it still didn't translate. So, I think you've touched on this sort of already, but, like, do the Jazz, like, look to him as, like, opening night starter, do you think? Or is that concern so, like, off-putting to how they run everything else that they're going to be a little bit cautious, especially with other, if Walker Kessler's there? I know he attempted threes at the end of last season, but, like, let's be serious, he's not a shooter. If you're going to have bookends of your lineup both not being able to shoot, like, how do they manage that?
And the thing I would point out on Collier, it's not only the shooting percentage, is how many guards only take 2 threes a game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he only takes 2 threes a game. Like, it's just trying to do something that no one else is doing. And we'll see if he can fix it. I don't know the answer on starters. Here's my thought. I'm sure the Jazz would love Isaiah Collier to start the year and have Keyonte be the 2. But there's a chance that the competition will be wide open for Walter Clayton or Isaiah Collier to be your point guard. At the same time, if Brice Sensabaugh hit 40% of his threes, comes into camp and is hitting 45% of his threes and actually playing some defense, well, maybe Keyonte is going to have to slide over to the starting 1 because Brice Sensabaugh is better than Isaiah Collier and Walter Clayton. I think it's also going to change throughout the year a lot on these various things. I think one of the things that the front office, and I was in a meeting yesterday where they said this specifically, we're taking the handcuffs off Will Hardy.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit like John Collins had to play. Like, okay, guys, you're right. The minutes are there for you. But guess what? If you suck, you're not going to play. Yep. Like, if you're not doing what you're supposed to, if Ace Bailey takes 6 straight bad shots, he's sitting down, and there's another guy behind him who's young and eager to take those minutes. And while it's not going to be a good basketball team in the sense of wins or losses, I think there's going to be a little bit more of, like, they're just deeper. The backups aren't all Johnny Juzang or Drew Eubanks. I mean, I think Yusuf Nurkic will actually play for this team because I'm just not sure Kyle's a backup 5. But I think that there's somebody kind of lingering behind you at every spot. If Isaiah Collier starts the year badly, Walter Clayton is waiting for those minutes. If Brice Sensabaugh is shooting 45% from 3 and playing defense, we'll see. Playing defense is probably the issue. This doesn't show up on fantasy, but like,
no, he can't defend. He's terrible.
Right. Like, Brice is not a good defender. Keyonte George was ranked the worst defender in the entire NBA last year. Yeah. Other than I actually think Corey Kispert in Washington was ranked worse on dunks and threes. But so some of this issue, we're talking about fantasy. Some of this issue is all going to be whether or not they put out the defensive effort. And Isaiah Collier's got the this is where Isaiah Collier can be great. When Isaiah Collier realizes the way he's going to make this league is picking guys up at 72 feet and being a pain in the ass for the entire possession with his strength and his size, he's going to play a lot in this league. He's going to be really valuable. Even if he shoots 25% from three, he's going to have a role in this league. So those are the things that I think actually from a fantasy standpoint, it's going to be hard to dictate, because I actually think non-fantasy actions will be the ones that dictate who gets the opportunity to put up the fantasy numbers.
That's such a key point that I try to make on this show a lot, and a lot of people don't always get. It's like, it doesn't matter if, like, okay, I don't want this guy for his defensive stats, or this is not what I'm after. Yeah, but if you don't do it, you don't play and you don't get minutes, so then you can't do the things that you're good at. So Brice Sensabaugh, the efficiency from him was out of control last season. It's so good. Like, he was 63% at the rim. He had 59 effective field goal. He hit 42% from three. He is a high usage player who scored. He does it unassisted. He does all this stuff, and he can't do anything in other spots. He's got size. He's had knee problems, obviously, but he's a very interesting player who, again, that shooting and that level of offensive creation is such a different dimension, but yeah, can't defend. So I hope that he's able to at least be, let's say, like, you know, bottom 30%, like as a defender, because then he plays 28 minutes and then he helps open all of this stuff up. David,
here's the great story for you, Josh.
Go ahead.
Last year, a fan comes up to me after a game and they're like, I need you to answer a question for me. Like, they're pissed. And I was like, sure. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, bud. Yeah, what do you got? Like, we're like 0-8, right? Like, and this guy's this upset. And I'm like, wow. And so then he says, we're the worst three-point shooting team in the league, and Brice Sensabaugh shoots 45% from three. Why isn't he on the floor? How can you not be playing him? I'm like, didn't you just kind of answer your own question? Like, it's so abundantly obvious that we need him to play if we could play him, because he shoots 45% from three. Like, do you think the coaches don't know that? But I will say this on Brice. I just saw him yesterday. I thought he looked much slimmer, and I do think he's worked hard on his body. I don't know if he'll be a good defensive player. He's just not quick laterally. That shooting's pretty special. I think he's Gary Trent. That's kind of my player who I think Brice Sensabaugh is, because he can really shoot it, and Gary Trent can really shoot it, and Gary Trent's not a great defender.
Yeah, and Sensabaugh from memory is bigger than Trent as well, isn't he? Isn't he 6'7" or 6'8"?
No, I think he's only 6'5".
Oh, 6'5". No, he is. Yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah. Okay. He's wider, though. I know that much. All right, David, that is the Jazz. That are some of the key questions, and I think some interesting things that people drafting for fantasy are going to have to pay attention to with this team. You're going to have covered all for us, obviously, Utah Jazz Radio, Locked On Jazz Podcast, and right across our Locked On Podcast network. So thank you again for coming on and creating this network, but also for giving us all the insight on the Utah Jazz.
Josh, thank you very much. You're the best. You've set the standard for everyone on this network, and we appreciate you immensely.
Thank you, David. And that's the Utah Jazz. Again, just we've got to be cautious about assuming things like Isaiah Collier or Keyonte George or where Taylor Hendricks is playing or Kyle Filipowski's role. Because we all saw little bits and pieces from these players, but always the context is important. Who's in? Who's out? What are they doing differently? Who could be taking other jobs? And the name Brice Sensabaugh, I will continue. And when we do things like deep flyers, and I think this name will push up later on, but just watch him, because there is a shot that he, in year 3, after first year being sort of ruined by injuries, being a 30-minute player who averages 16, 17 points next to Bailey and Markkanen, and we'll see what they do. It's intriguing to me. Hit the thumb on the video, subscribe, leave it all down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.